The Cleveland Browns quarterback room has officially erupted into chaos, and it's not just the usual training camp drama. We're talking nuclear-level meltdown, the kind of situation that makes fans question everything they thought they knew about their team. What started as a routine Wednesday practice at the cross-country mortgage campus in Berea quickly spiraled into one of the most shocking locker room moments in recent NFL history, leaving players, coaches, and fans stunned. This wasn't a minor scuffle that gets laughed off later. This was personal, ugly, and the kind of moment that could define the Browns' season before it even begins. It all came to a head during red zone drills, when two rookies, third-round pick Dillon Gabriel and fifth-round selection Shedeur Sanders, collided in a way that no one in the facility expected. Both quarterbacks were working with the second-team offense, while veteran Joe Flacco handled first-team reps, and what was supposed to be a competitive exercise quickly turned dangerous. Gabriel, frustrated with losing reps to Sanders and feeling the pressure of being drafted higher, reportedly delivered a late, unnecessary hit on Sanders' shoulder as the Colorado product was releasing a pass. Witnesses described the sound echoing across the practice field, a hit so vicious it immediately drew concern from everyone around. Sanders went down hard, clutching his shoulder, and the moment could have ended there. But instead of immediate remorse or even a simple check-in, Gabriel reportedly stood over Sanders, yelling at him in a way that turned the entire situation toxic. According to sources, the words were along the lines of, "That's what happens when you think you're better than everybody else." And with that, a practice drill transformed into an all-out locker room battle. Teammates rushed in, taking sides in shocking fashion. Offensive linemen threw themselves behind Sanders, grabbing Gabriel and trying to restrain him, while defensive veterans attempted to mediate. But the division had already been set, the lines drawn, and the Browns' quarterback room was officially at war. The aftermath didn't just stay on the field. Less than 2 hours later, Sanders went live on Instagram, exposing what he claimed is systemic dysfunction within the organization. He didn't hold back, alleging favoritism, jealousy, and a coaching staff that failed to intervene as tensions escalated. Social media immediately exploded, amplifying what had already become a nightmare scenario for Browns ownership and fans alike. Suddenly, a single practice incident had transformed into a national story, with analysts, former players, and fans weighing in on what went wrong, and who was really to blame. And here's the thing. This isn't just a rookie fight or a social media rant. This is a microcosm of the problems that have plagued Cleveland for years. Draft decisions, leadership gaps, internal politics, and organizational missteps all collided in a single moment that now threatens to derail the team's preseason, shake up the quarterback competition, and leave a lasting mark on the Browns' culture. By the end of this story, you'll understand why what happened on that practice field isn't just shocking. It's emblematic of a franchise in turmoil, and why the fallout will be felt for months to come. If you thought the chaos ended on the practice field, think again. Less than 2 hours after the brawl, Shedeur Sanders took to social media and completely changed the narrative. What happened next wasn't just a reaction, it was an all-out revelation that has the entire NFL talking. Sanders, visibly frustrated and wearing a sling on his injured shoulder, went live on Instagram and didn't hold anything back. He didn't just address the late hit from Dillon Gabriel. He exposed what he claims is deeper dysfunction within the Browns organization, and the statements were explosive. In the video, Sanders described the incident as more than a football play gone wrong. "This isn't about football anymore," he said. "This is about jealousy. This is about politics. This is about an organization that doesn't know how to protect its players." He went on to call out Gabriel directly, suggesting the third-round rookie had been bitter ever since realizing he wasn't automatically the golden boy of the quarterback room. Draft position, Sanders implied, meant nothing when performance didn't follow, and according to him, Gabriel's frustration boiled over into a reckless and dangerous act. But the controversy didn't stop with Gabriel. Sanders also leveled serious criticism at the coaching staff, claiming they saw the tension building for weeks and did nothing to prevent it. He suggested that the coaches failed to manage the quarterback room, allowing personal conflicts to escalate into a situation where he could be seriously injured. "They let it get to this point because they were too weak to handle their own quarterback room," he said, his tone a mix of anger and disbelief. Within hours, the video had gone viral, racking up millions of views and sparking national debate. Analysts, former players, and fans weighed in, dissecting both the incident and Sanders' claims. Some praised him for speaking out and shedding light on organizational shortcomings, while others questioned the appropriateness of airing internal disputes publicly. Either way, the message was clear. The Browns' quarterback room, and perhaps the team as a whole, was in serious trouble. Sanders' social media explosion didn't just document a personal grievance. It forced the league, the media, and fans to confront uncomfortable questions about leadership, culture, and accountability in Cleveland. Suddenly, what was a shocking practice altercation had become a full-blown organizational crisis, and the fallout was only beginning. To truly understand why Wednesday's practice brawl blew up the way it did, you need to grasp the chaos that had been simmering in Cleveland's quarterback room for months. The Browns entered the 2025 season with one of the most uncertain QB situations in the NFL, and the drama started long before any shoulder hit or Instagram live video. Deshaun Watson, the team's $230 million investment, was out for the season after suffering a devastating second Achilles rupture, leaving Cleveland scrambling to assemble a quarterback room that could compete and actually survive the preseason without imploding. In stepped veteran Joe Flacco, a 40-year-old bridge player expected to stabilize the room, and Kenny Pickett, the former Steelers' first-round pick who never quite lived up to expectations. Then came the draft. With the 94th overall pick in the third round, the Browns selected Dillon Gabriel, the prolific Oregon quarterback who set NCAA records for touchdowns and total yards. Many analysts questioned whether his 511 frame and arm strength would translate to the NFL. The assumption was that Gabriel, being drafted earlier, would be the rookie to lead the competition and eventually challenge for the starting job. But the Browns didn't stop there. In the fifth round, they traded up to select Shedeur Sanders, the son of Colorado head coach Dillon Sanders. Sanders had been projected as a potential first-round pick by many scouts, and his draft slide created immediate tension. Now, the rookie room had two quarterbacks with talent, personality, and completely different motivations. Gabriel, expecting to dominate due to his draft position and college experience, found himself struggling to keep pace with the relentless, naturally gifted Sanders. Meanwhile, Sanders embraced the underdog role, using his fifth-round status as fuel to prove himself at every turn. Sources reveal that tension had been building since rookie minicamp in May. Initially, the competition seemed healthy. Both rookies pushed each other while veterans Flacco and Pickett handled first-team reps. But as organized team activities and minicamp progressed, Gabriel's frustration became visible. He was expected to excel instantly, but the speed and complexity of the NFL game humbled him. Sanders, in contrast, consistently made plays that drew praise from coaches and veterans alike. The dynamic began to shift, and the locker room started noticing. The breaking point came during joint practices with the Carolina Panthers. Gabriel had a particularly rough day, throwing interceptions and struggling under pressure, while Sanders looked calm, confident, and in complete control. Veterans started whispering. Coaches noticed. The tension already simmering was now boiling over. Multiple sources say that if the coaching staff had intervened earlier, setting clear rules, managing expectations, and guiding the rookies, the Wednesday explosion might never have happened. Instead, the Browns allowed the competition to get personal, creating a powder keg just waiting for a spark. By the time the practice brawl occurred, it wasn't just a fight between two rookies. It was the manifestation of months of unaddressed tension, personality clashes, and systemic dysfunction. The quarterback room, meant to be the backbone of the team, had become a public spectacle of instability, setting the stage for Sanders, viral social media revelation, and a crisis that would ripple through the entire organization. Once the dust settled from the on-field confrontation, it became clear that the Browns' locker room was no longer just tense, it was fractured. What started as a single moment of reckless aggression between two rookie quarterbacks had escalated into a full-blown division among veterans, position groups, and even coaches. According to multiple sources, the immediate aftermath of the brawl revealed a locker room forced to take sides, and the lines were drawn in ways nobody could have predicted. Offensive linemen, traditionally the protectors of whoever is under center, rallied almost unanimously around Shedeur Sanders. Veterans like left tackle Darwin Jones and guard Joel Batonio reportedly intervened during the fight, physically separating Gabriel from Sanders while voicing their outrage. One source described Jones shouting at Gabriel, "What the hell is wrong with you?" It wasn't just about loyalty, it was a statement. These linemen, many of whom had endured years of quarterback instability in Cleveland, saw Sanders' professionalism, toughness, and competitive fire as qualities worth defending. In their eyes, he had been attacked for simply performing at a higher level, and that betrayal by a teammate was intolerable. Meanwhile, the skilled position players' allegiances were more nuanced. Wide receivers Jerry Jeudy and Cedric Tillman, while sympathetic to Gabriel's frustration, did not condone his actions. Their stance was clear. Competition is one thing, but putting a teammate at risk crosses a line. Defensive players, led by stars like Myles Garrett and linebacker Jordan Hicks, largely remained neutral, attempting to mediate the situation and maintain a semblance of order. Yet sources suggest even they were privately concerned, questioning how the quarterback room could operate effectively under such strain. The fallout wasn't limited to personal alliances. Coaching staff reactions further exposed fractures in leadership. Head coach Kevin Stefanski reportedly ended practice immediately, a rare move in Browns training camp history, before engaging in heated discussions with offensive coordinator Tommy Ree and quarterbacks coach Jeff Hafley. Observers described Stefanski as visibly shaken, realizing that this wasn't a simple practice scuffle, but an outright implosion of team chemistry right in front of his eyes. The failure to intervene earlier, some sources argue, had allowed minor tension to evolve into a major organizational problem. Even beyond the locker room, the incident reverberated throughout the organization. Ownership, front office personnel, and veteran leaders were forced to confront uncomfortable questions about leadership, oversight, and accountability. The Browns, a team with playoff potential and established talent, suddenly appeared fragile from within. Every player, coach, and staff member had to reckon with the reality that the quarterback room, typically the cornerstone of stability, had become a liability, threatening not just the rookies' development but the team's competitive prospects for the entire season. In short, the brawl didn't just injure a shoulder or create a headline, it exposed a culture in crisis. Veteran support for Sanders, defensive attempts at neutrality, and coaching hesitation collectively painted a picture of a locker room struggling to navigate fractured loyalties, unchecked egos, and a lack of clear leadership. The fallout would linger long after the injury was treated, setting the stage for difficult decisions about discipline, depth chart adjustments, and ultimately the direction of the Browns' season. Beyond the drama and locker room divisions, there was a very real concern that no one could ignore. Shedeur Sanders' shoulder injury. What had started as a shocking late hit from Dillon Gabriel quickly escalated into a situation with serious medical implications. Witnesses report that Sanders went down clutching his left shoulder, the kind of injury that sends instant alarms through a team. Teammates rushed to his side, but the visible pain and frustration on Sanders' face made it clear this was more than a minor bruise or jostled joint. Immediate evaluation began on site, with trainers rushing Sanders to get preliminary imaging. According to sources, X-rays and an MRI were performed within hours, and while official results weren't released immediately, insiders suggest the damage was significant enough to require rest, rehabilitation, and careful monitoring. Reports indicate inflammation and potential ligament damage, a combination that could sideline Sanders for several critical weeks during the preseason. While not considered season-ending, the timing of the injury couldn't have been worse. Sanders had been gaining momentum in the quarterback competition, impressing coaches and veteran teammates with his arm's strength, poise, and ability to read defenses. The injury also dramatically altered the Browns' preseason plans. With Kenny Pickett limited by a hamstring issue and Joe Flacco, the 40-year-old veteran, tasked with stabilizing the quarterback room, Sanders' absence created immediate complications. What was meant to be a measured evaluation of 4 quarterbacks in live game situations now became an exercise in damage control. Sources reveal that the coaching staff had to scramble, revising practice rotations, adjusting play calling, and rethinking which quarterbacks could see meaningful snaps. The ability to properly assess rookie development, the very purpose of the preseason, was suddenly compromised. Sanders himself reacted with the competitive fire fans had already seen in his social media posts. Even while dealing with pain and wearing a sling, he remained engaged, reviewing film and staying connected to the team's preparation. Sources describe him as frustrated but resolute, refusing to let the injury define his trajectory. However, the physical setback combined with the ongoing locker room fallout meant that Sanders' path forward was now more precarious than ever. The medical implications extend beyond just one player. The injury also influences how the Browns manage their depth chart and preseason strategy. If Sanders is sidelined for multiple games, the responsibility of carrying the quarterback room shifts to Flacco and, potentially, Pickett, neither of whom were expected to be the focal point of the competition. This makes every snap and practice crucial, as the team must balance player safety, evaluation, and the need to field a competitive unit in upcoming preseason matchups. Ultimately, Sanders' shoulder injury is more than just a physical setback. It is a pivotal factor in the Browns' quarterback drama. It heightens the stakes for roster decisions, deepens the urgency around disciplinary actions for Gabriel, and threatens to reshape the competitive landscape of the team's most critical position. The next few weeks will be defining, both for Sanders' health and for Cleveland's ability to manage a quarterback room already stretched to the breaking point. Wednesday's incident didn't just expose player conflict, it shone a harsh spotlight on the Browns' coaching staff, and overall organizational culture. Head coach Kevin Stefanski, a leader known for emphasizing locker room stability, found himself under immediate scrutiny. Sources suggest that rather than proactively managing the simmering tension between Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, Stefanski allowed the rivalry to escalate unchecked. The hope was that competition would naturally sort itself out, but instead, it turned personal and dangerous. Critics argue that this hands-off approach represents a serious misstep in leadership at one of the league's most visible positions. Offensive coordinator Tommy Rhee also came under fire. Sources indicate Rhee may have unintentionally fueled the tension by showing favoritism toward Gabriel, offering him more complex reps and attention during practice, while Sanders was restricted to simpler drills. While unintentional, these coaching decisions created a perception of inequity that Sanders' supporters argue contributed directly to the eruption on the field. Coaches in high-pressure rookie competitions are expected to balance talent development with fairness, and many insiders feel that balance was mishandled in Cleveland.
If you enjoyed today's breakdown and want to keep up with all the drama, trades, and behind-the-scenes action in the NFL, then don't forget to hit that like button.
The organizational criticism extends beyond just the coaching staff. Observers point to systemic issues that have long plagued the franchise: poor communication between ownership, front office, and coaching staff, unclear expectations for player conduct, and a lack of veteran guidance to mediate conflicts. With Deshaun Watson out and the roster relying on newly added quarterbacks Flacco and Pickett, the team lacked a stabilizing presence. Analysts argue that this leadership vacuum, combined with inconsistent coaching oversight, created a perfect storm for chaos. Even ownership wasn't immune from criticism. Sources suggest Browns owner Jimmy Haslam was reportedly furious about the incident, frustrated with yet another high-profile episode highlighting dysfunction. For an organization seeking stability and credibility, the quarterback brawl represents not just an isolated event, but a broader reflection of cultural and managerial weaknesses. From the outside, it appears the team struggled to implement clear structures to manage competition, leaving both players and coaches exposed to public scrutiny. In short, the brawl didn't just fracture a locker room, it spotlighted leadership failures at multiple levels. From coaching decisions that inadvertently fueled tension to organizational mismanagement that left rookies without guidance, the Browns' internal issues now demand immediate attention. How SD Fansky, and ownership respond in the coming days will likely define not only this preseason, but the long-term trajectory of the quarterback room and the franchise itself. As soon as Shedeur Sanders went public with his explosive social media posts, the story erupted far beyond Cleveland, becoming a nationwide spectacle. Within hours, every major sports outlet was covering the unprecedented quarterback brawl, dissecting its implications for the Browns' season, and questioning the franchise's internal culture. Analysts, commentators, and former players weighed in, turning what began as a training camp incident into a full-blown national narrative. On ESPN, Stephen A. Smith didn't hold back. He called the incident a stark illustration of dysfunction, emphasizing that a quarterback room erupting into violence is unacceptable at any level. Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe offered similarly scathing assessments, labeling Gabriel's actions reckless and dangerous while criticizing the Browns' coaching staff for failing to prevent the escalation. The story wasn't just fodder for hot takes. Experts stressed that it reflected systemic issues, from leadership gaps to locker room management failures, that could have long-term consequences for the team's credibility. Former NFL players also chimed in. Bernie Kosar, a beloved former Browns quarterback, called the incident unprecedented in his experience, emphasizing the importance of trust and respect in a quarterback room. Alex Smith, another former NFL QB turned analyst, framed the situation bluntly. Once trust between teammates is broken, it's nearly impossible to rebuild. Several current NFL players, speaking anonymously, echoed these concerns, suggesting the incident reflected poorly on Cleveland's organizational culture and served as a cautionary tale for other franchises. Meanwhile, the fan response was equally intense and deeply divided. Browns supporters, long accustomed to quarterback instability, quickly took to social media to express their outrage, frustration, and loyalty. The hashtag #ProtectShedeur trended within hours, with fans lauding Sanders for standing up for himself and criticizing Gabriel's aggressive behavior. Many saw Sanders as embodying the competitive toughness and leadership qualities Cleveland fans crave after years of uncertainty at the position. "He's everything we want in a quarterback," tweeted one fan. "Dillon just showed he cares about himself, not the team." Other factions of the fan base sympathized with Gabriel, arguing that the pressures of NFL competition sometimes push players to extremes. Some felt Sanders' public airing of grievances on social media was unprofessional, reflecting immaturity rather than courage. Yet another group placed blame squarely on the organization, criticizing both coaching staff and front office for failing to create a structured, supportive environment. Online forums, fan podcasts, and YouTube channels dedicated entire episodes to analyzing the incident, reflecting how deeply it resonated with the community. The combination of national media coverage and fan scrutiny turned the Browns' quarterback drama into more than just a team issue. It became a league-wide talking point. From debates over coaching competence to discussions about rookie development and social media accountability, the fallout touched every corner of the NFL conversation. In Cleveland, fans are not just watching the preseason. They're actively shaping the narrative, and the team's next moves will be judged under a microscope both locally and nationally. Wednesday's brawl didn't just create drama, it immediately altered the Browns' preseason plans and the trajectory of their quarterback competition. What was supposed to be a structured evaluation of 4 quarterbacks suddenly turned into a logistical nightmare. With Shedeur Sanders potentially sidelined by his shoulder injury and Dillon Gabriel facing disciplinary scrutiny, the Browns are left scrambling to adjust game plans, reps, and even the coaching approach just days before their first preseason matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles. Joe Flacco, the 40-year-old veteran initially expected to play a bridge role, has now become the most stable option in a suddenly fragile quarterback room. Kenny Pickett, who was already battling a hamstring issue and inconsistent performance, becomes more critical by default. Sources indicate that the coaching staff is urgently rethinking how to distribute snaps, evaluate rookies, and maintain competitive integrity while managing player safety and discipline. What should have been an opportunity to test multiple players in live game scenarios is now largely about damage control, protecting Sanders' health, and mitigating the fallout from Gabriel's actions. The situation also complicates the evaluation of talent and roster decisions. Both Sanders and Gabriel were expected to compete for meaningful roles during the preseason, allowing coaches to gauge readiness, decision-making, and chemistry under pressure. Now, with Sanders potentially missing multiple games and Gabriel's status uncertain, the coaching staff may struggle to fairly assess both quarterbacks. This disruption could ripple into the regular season, influencing starting decisions and depth chart hierarchies. Beyond player evaluation, the incident sends a broader message about competition and culture to the entire roster. Other players are watching closely, and how the Browns respond could set the tone for professionalism, accountability, and team cohesion. If disciplinary measures are perceived as inconsistent or favoritism is evident, it risks undermining trust across the locker room. Conversely, handling the situation decisively could restore some order and demonstrate a commitment to standards, something that has been historically elusive in Cleveland. In short, the quarterback brawl has turned the Browns' preseason into a test not only of player skill, but of organizational resilience. How the team navigates injuries, discipline, and altered game plans in these early games will likely have lasting consequences for roster construction, quarterback development, and the overall tone of the season. What was meant to be a straightforward competitive evaluation now carries high stakes for both players and leadership alike. The quarterback brawl in Cleveland isn't just a player or coaching issue. It has profound organizational and financial implications that could affect the franchise for years. At the surface, it's easy to see the chaos on the practice field. Two rookie quarterbacks at each other's throats, a divided locker room, and frustrated veterans trying to mediate. But beneath that, the incident exposes structural weaknesses that extend from the front office to the owner's office, highlighting challenges in communication, leadership, and long-term planning. Ownership, particularly Jimmy Haslam, is reportedly furious. Sources close to the team reveal that Haslam sees this incident as the latest in a pattern of avoidable organizational failures that have plagued his tenure. For a franchise that has invested heavily in high-profile players and coaching talent, repeated public controversies like this one threat not only credibility, but also fan trust and revenue. The optics are damaging. National media coverage, fan outrage, and viral social media posts paint a picture of a team unable to manage its most critical position. This isn't just bad PR, it has real business consequences, from ticket sales to sponsorship deals. The financial ramifications extend directly to player contracts. Both Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders are on cost-controlled rookie deals that were expected to provide affordable depth at the quarterback position for several seasons. Gabriel's 4-year, $5.2 million contract and Sanders' 4-year, $3.8 million deal represents significant value if these players develop as projected. But disciplinary action, suspension, or release of Gabriel would mean losing a third-round investment, while a more serious injury to Sanders could delay his development timeline. Either scenario forces the team to reconsider long-term salary cap planning and may necessitate expensive free agent acquisitions to fill gaps that were supposed to be covered by rookies. The incident also raises questions about the Browns' 2025 draft strategy. Selecting two quarterbacks in the same draft was controversial internally, and critics suggest it contributed directly to the tension between Gabriel and Sanders. Some evaluators reportedly preferred Sanders' talent and character profile, but Gabriel's experience and perceived system fit one out. By trying to appease multiple factions in the organization, the team created a competitive dynamic that quickly turned combustible. The fallout now forces front office leadership to revisit scouting, evaluation, and communication processes to ensure clarity and alignment for future drafts. Finally, the ripple effects of the brawl touch every layer of the organization. Coaching staff credibility is under scrutiny, veteran leadership gaps have been exposed, and player morale is fragile. With the Browns already juggling a limited salary cap and high expectations for performance, the incident threatens both short-term competitiveness and long-term strategic planning. In essence, what started as a clash between two rookies has become a case study in how organizational mismanagement can magnify individual conflict into a franchise-wide crisis. The quarterback brawl that unfolded in Cleveland this week is far more than a single moment of on-field aggression. It's a window into the broader challenges, tensions, and structural vulnerabilities within the Browns organization. What might have started as a competitive clash between two rookies, Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel, quickly spiraled into a public spectacle that exposed cracks in leadership, communication, and culture across every level of the franchise. From the owner's office to the coaching staff, the incident has highlighted how small missteps in managing personalities, expectations, and team dynamics can explode into a crisis with national attention. Shedeur Sanders' social media revelation played a pivotal role in shaping the narrative. By speaking directly to fans, Sanders bypassed traditional media channels and forced the Browns organization, and the NFL at large, to confront uncomfortable truths about how they manage rookies, competition, and player welfare. His posts weren't just emotional reactions. They were a clarion call exposing what he described as systemic dysfunction, favoritism, and a lack of protective oversight from coaches. In doing so, Sanders positioned himself not only as a talented quarterback, but as a symbol of accountability in a franchise long criticized for instability. The locker room fallout underscored just how fragile team chemistry had become. Veterans were forced to take sides, divisions formed along unexpected lines, and defensive leaders were left navigating a minefield without clear authority. The lack of established veteran mentorship, especially at the quarterback position, amplified the problem. Without guidance, what could have been constructive competition turned personal, creating a powder keg that ultimately ignited during practice. This isn't just a Cleveland problem. It's a cautionary tale for NFL teams about the importance of structure, leadership, and accountability in high-pressure environments. Financially and strategically, the implications are significant. Rookie contracts, draft choices, and future planning all hang in the balance. Gabriel's potential disciplinary action and Sanders' injury threatened to derail careful roster construction and salary cap management, forcing the Browns to make difficult decisions while the national spotlight intensifies. The 2025 draft strategy, which sought to balance talent acquisition with internal competition, is now being scrutinized as a key factor in the unfolding chaos, highlighting the risks of indecision and divided priorities within a franchise. Ultimately, the quarterback brawl is a microcosm of the broader Cleveland Browns story, a team with immense talent and potential, yet frequently undermined by mismanagement, communication breakdowns, and cultural instability. The events of this week may have immediate consequences for preseason game plans and player evaluations, but the long-term lessons are even more critical. How the Browns respond, whether with decisive discipline, enhanced leadership, or structural reforms, will determine not only the trajectory of Sanders and Gabriel, but the credibility and culture of the organization itself. As fans, analysts, and players watch closely, one truth is clear. The Browns cannot afford to let this moment define them. It's a wake-up call, a challenge, and perhaps an opportunity to rebuild stronger. The future of Cleveland football, both on the field and in the locker room, now hangs in the balance, reminding everyone that in the NFL, talent alone isn't enough. Leadership, culture, and accountability matter just as much, if not more.
If you enjoyed today's breakdown and want to keep up with all the drama, trades, and behind-the-scenes action in the NFL, then don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps this channel grow and lets us know you love this kind of content. And hey, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with your friends, your group chats, or anyone who loves football as much as you do. The more the conversation spreads, the better it gets. Most importantly, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and tap the notification bell. That way, you'll never miss when we drop fresh stories, wild rumors, or breaking updates that the mainstream media won't talk about.